Welcome all, welcome for another week of normal Q&A. It's the first Monday of the month, which means it's an open all access live stream to everyone, not just my members and people that have joined, but everybody, anyone who wants to drop on, say hello, ask a question, all those things. So I've got some information as well, got some news, some product information as well, because obviously we're getting close to somewhat of the silly season. It starts off in the autumn, late summer, and then moves into all the way into next year. January, February is the finish, I suppose, the silly season. It starts around about August time, September, give or take. But we've got some information of what's coming up soon. Right, we have the chat going on, as you can see already. People are already there. Neil says, how's the shoulder doing? Shoulder's doing okay. It is, I'm chipping and I'm pitching. I'm not doing anything because as soon as I start swinging irons, I can swing an iron a few times, but then it starts to niggle. And something that's been going on for this length of time, we are talking a number of weeks now with my shoulder, it is definitely like ligament or tendon orientated. Generally speaking, if it's like a soft tissue thing, it would relatively, hopefully, get better a little bit quicker than it is at the moment. So that's what it is. It's the, I'm pretty certain it's tendon or ligament. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, it's up in there somewhere. But it's doing okay. It's getting better. A Special K, evening all. Hello. Perry says, even Mini Ninja safely dropped off at Taekwondo, and all is goody goody. Mr. Dufire, evening is not even lunchtime yet. Well, it is for some and it is not for others, and for people that are on that side of where I am on the globe, it's even later. So Adrian, evening guys. Hello Adrian. Spike's in the house. Hello. Hi guys, at the doctor now, just logged in. Oh, how is your knee today, Spike? How is it going? Yeah, poor boy. I hope everyone wish him a very, very quick recovery, although I know it's not that quick, but all the best wishes anyway. So we're going to be talking a few different things today. We've got some equipment news. We have some different ideas around putters and lie angles and stuff like that. We have the classic chat about Nelly Korda and the 10 that she made at the US Women's Open. We have obviously the new releases. Mizuno are going to be doing their JPX 925 soon. Callaway, I need to reach out to Callaway and speak to them a little bit more about their upcoming range change, or whether they're going to be adding the new DCB, etc. We don't know, so I'll go through that idea. And of course, we have the countdown, amongst many others. Ping, I'm going to be releasing very soon, within the next, well, it depends on what they do. They might wait until early next year, all depends how sales going, etc. on G435. That will be coming. And of course, Titleist have gone and dumped online a soft release as such of their new drivers, their new GT drivers. So we'll chat a few minutes on that idea of what they've obviously got. 3 different models, the 2, 3 and the 4. Obviously TSR has gone and we are down the 2, 3 and 4 route. Obviously we'll talk about what the differences are, etc., because there is a new interesting one when it comes to the 3 and how the 3, oh, yeah, oh, there we go. Emergency text. And so yeah, we'll go through that idea. And of course we have also another one which I may or may not reach out to test. Obviously there's a little bit of background as well with Vice Golf. They have now irons, wedges and putters, not just balls and clothing and stuff like that. So we will chat about that one as well. Right, so what's the chat saying? Perry says, I remember the old Army maxim, no pain, no gain, and now I'm older, I'm paying for it. Yep, that's true. Just pain, just pain. My mind says, evening everyone. Hello, hope you are well. And Harry, evening, good and Arvond, good, yeah, apologies. I generally struggle with English, let alone other languages. But hello, hello, hello. Right, what should we go on first? Let's just do a quick one, because on the back of the last From Stats to Strokes video that I did yesterday on the answer, there was Robert. Oh, let's just try and get his get the post up here now. Come on. Oh, why is it not working? Oh, don't. Oh, that's not good. It was working. I don't think I can. Let's see if we can do it again. When in doubt, what you do is you kill it and start again. There we go. Right, so on the back of the From Stats to Strokes, there was a comment by Robert Court, and he posted a interesting comment, of which I looked into after he posted it. And again, it's just a follow on from that, but these kind of stats really are interesting to understand. He says that Lou Stagner just put out a stat the other day: a 10 handicap player, a 10 index player that hits the fairway at 200 yards is 0 strokes gained for that shot. So not losing or gaining strokes against 10 handicappers. Of course, obviously strokes gained is measured against your peers, and obviously on the length of hole and where you land, how far you land, obviously from where you hit, what surface you're in, fairway, rough, or etc. All those different things, and affects obviously your strokes gained, dependent on obviously how you average compared to your peers and how you hit your shot, etc. But it was really surprising that at 10 index, a 10 handicap golfer is really quite good, and they only need to hit their driver off the tee 200 yards in the fairway to be equal on strokes gained. So if they hit it 201 yards, they'll be obviously 0.0 whatever it'll be, but effectively that is just how far they've got to hit it. That is it, not much whatsoever. And it's amazing that when you get it down to that kind of level, that you realize just how many shots even 10 handicappers waste when it comes to errant shots, errant drives, because they average more than that. They average around about 230 yards or so, by memory, because I did look up what Robert was saying. And of course, for them to average 230 something odd yards, then just hitting the fairway at 200 yards and being 0 strokes gained just shows, even at a 10 handicapper, how many times they mess up. And because obviously they mess up, that gets put into the mix, and of course that then means that 200 yards. Now obviously if you do start hitting your drives 240 yards, 230 yards, and they're in the fairway, the potential on that one, that on that hole, in that situation, you have gained massively. Really interesting stat that I thought I'd just very, very quickly pop up there, because obviously when you're talking about a 10 handicapper, really good golfer, really. If you look at it in the whole range of golfers that we've got out there, 10 handicapper is a very good golfer. And what happens when you go 18 handicap? What happens when you go 25 handicapper? Really, the emphasis is on not making mistakes. What I mean by not making mistakes, what I mean is by not hitting your shot out of bounds or in the trees, a recovery shot situation. You can be in the rough, it doesn't matter. I followed up on this one, and the rough distance for a 10 index player, so the average is 230 something odd yards, and they only have to hit it to 11 yards in the rough still to be 0 shots gained. So effectively 20 yards or so less than their average shot in the rough, and they still do not lose shots. Again, it's a matter of how many shots they waste. There you go. I thought that was quite interesting, so thank you very much for to Robert for highlighting that one. So enabled me then to obviously share that with everyone else. Right, sorry Dutch, that's what Harry was saying there. Doesn't make no difference, I'm terrible, I can only just do English. Mark says the pursuit of distance versus action and gapping, JPX Tour, full pitching wedge 130, 135 yards, full pitching wedge 130, 135. Yeah, that's a big boy shot. Bearing in mind when I hit it, as generally speaking, around about 125 yards. and I'm not slow. So I expect 10 to 12 yards between clubs at that kind of speed. Unless you de-loft massively, they might be a little bit bigger, because you're talking 130 to 135 yards. Even if, I mean, if you're at my speed, I'm 91, 92 miles an hour, give or take, with a 7-iron, although not at the moment with the old dodgy shoulder, but generally speaking I am. And I hit a pitching wedge around 125 or so yards. So if you're doing me by 5 to 10 yards, you're either swinging remarkably quickly or you are de-lofting more than I. And so if you're de-lofting the golf clubs, then depending on how you de-loft them as a rule, and if it changes throughout the set as angle attack changes, you may be expecting a slightly larger distance gap. But yeah, I expect 10 to 12 yards between clubs, going up 9 to 4 irons, and try to fill out wedges 10 to 12 yards below that. Will be an interesting one, because unless you swing really, really quickly, we are talking about a de-loft, a dynamic de-loft of the head, and it would be really interesting to measure you to see if you are consistently that same de-loft. You're de-lofting the golf club by the same amount as you move ball position, because obviously then you can see there could be like sporadic weird distance gaps between golf clubs for no other reason than obviously the de-loft. Perry says, these strokes gained figures are great. I am giving 52 shots to who I'm playing with Wednesday. 52. He'll be well chuffed to think 52. Okay. Yeah. Right. So that was that little bit there. Now, putter. I will ask this question, and we have people that are watching, so we will ask your opinion on this. Does lie angle make a difference to a putter? So let's just go get a putter. Let's go find. Let's just go get my one that I am messing around with currently. A little bit of, yeah, Velcro head cover. So I've always, well, I say typically, I've always used Scotty Cameron for many, many, many years, until 3 years ago, maybe 3, don't know. Just because of initially it was the blue, the M Crafts. It was the blue, and it was just the loveliest blue ever. And so I managed to get fit for the 3, I think it was the one with the mallet shaped, in the blue, because the blue is just lovely and it works really, really well. But ever since messing around with the Omoys, these are the Omoys, heavy heads, very heavy heads, but they are very, very stable. And what I mean by stable is because of the amount of weight that these are on this head, and it is a fairly heavy mass, this, I can feel it. And obviously, and you have got the weight ports at the back, which you can adjust should you require. 3, 8s and 13s, I think they are. I've got the 8s in here at the moment, yeah. So what I normally do with the weight pack, I basically, for summer times when you don't really need, when the greens are really quick, I basically put the 3s in, and then when it comes to winter time, where the greens are a bit more furry and a bit slower, I put the 13s in, the heavier head, heavier weights, and so I can make the same stroke, and it basically just gives the ball a little bit more oomph when you've got a heavier weight in their head. So, the interesting thing was lie, and I was, what was it now? I'll get into this long drawn out conversation. I was watching it, and where people were basically debating this whole topic of lie angle when it comes to putters. And the effect of lie is that how the golf club sits relative to flat. So relative to flat, how does the golf club sit toe up, or does it sit toe down, or does it sit flat? There's obviously at the point of impact, so as the old golf club goes along. And so there was some really interesting different opinions about how lie or lie does not make a difference, or it does. Now, the physics of it are one thing, and then there is another side of it. So put down in the comments, what do you think of lie angle and on a putter? Just the lie angle, nothing else, just a putter. And you give me your idea of what do you think that lie angle will do to your putt? What will it physically do to the shot in question if your toe is too high or your heel is too high or anything else like that? If your lie angle is not correct, what may or may not happen? Neil says putters have loft, so lie will matter. Okay. Fran says fly high 4 versus MP 225 4 iron. I think it may have to be 4. Well, have I still got an MP? Have I still got an MP? No, I've got a 4. I've got a 5. I haven't got a. I haven't got a 4. I have a 4 of the old MP20. That's in storage. Getting old now. But I have 5, 7, 9 gap of the 225s, but I don't have the 4. More ball speed and carry or just higher ball flight. I need to get a bit more gap for my 5 iron, so considering a fly high 4 iron or 3 iron, adding 1 degree of loft. Thoughts? Thoughts are basically, yes, if you go by the physics of it, they fly high. So again, you're going back from that, you're going back, obviously saying 225. If you're going to say 225, obviously we're talking, is it the old fly high or the new fly high? So if we go from the new fly high is over here, and this is the 4, then because, let's just be honest, when it comes to physics, this one being bigger than the 225, 245, when I mean bigger, I mean the fact that the sole is thicker, wider, lower, further back, center of gravity, loft for loft exactly the same. Even if you say, let's call it shaft exactly the same for the people that are affected by shaft differences, and also people that are really affected by shaft differences. Because of the center of gravity on the head is just slightly further back, you are going to get a little bit more kicking on the shaft, like for like. So there will be, even though you may get the static loft exactly the same, let's call it a number, 24 degrees, let's just spout out a number. There will be slightly more delivered loft on something with a center of gravity, so, well, relatively further back than the 245s, especially 245 and 225. So yes, you will get a little bit of launch. Obviously, when it comes to having a little bit more loft delivered, potentially because of the kick of the shaft, and then also lower further back CG, anyway, you are going to get a little bit more vertical gearing, getting the golf ball launching up in the air. So like for like, yes, the fly high will give you a little bit more extra when it comes to launch speed. This is a completely different construction than that of the 245. This one is built just for one reason only, for speed. It does not feel like the 245. The 245 feels a lot nicer, if you want to call it by nothing feels like a Mizuno kind of idea. Mizuno don't make this to feel like a Mizuno, and so this does feel a little bit more raw, and so you'll get a little bit more ball speed, etc. So I would definitely give it a test if you can. These are well worth testing. But like for like, Franz, everything should be basically what you want, the whole idea. Now, when it comes to loft, I'm not quite sure. Obviously, this is very much so down to the individual golfer, and so if you can, obviously got your 5 iron there, hit your 5 iron, test the 4 and see what you need to do with it. Right, Mr. 2, oh, hang on, I can do this my way on here. There we go. Just skipped out the screen, I'll give you a different screen. I would like lie angle. I would think lie angle would depend on posture. Absolutely does depend on posture. It depends on everything, but posture, handle, positions, etc. Everything. But what difference do you think does it make to the ball? Harry says, got an old Cleveland putter with weight, loft and lie stamped on the sole. Wow, yes, it makes it a lot easier, but it might have been bent around with people smacking it across their bag, obviously a few times when they missed the putt. Seen it done. So Neil says, my answer above would be assuming wrong lie angle, i.e. toe up or toe down. Lie should be fit to the individual, as I think is also indicated. It absolutely should. As a rule, performance benefits, they say that there is there's enough statistical analysis on it to understand that there is a gain when you have correct lie angle. The physics are interesting. Fran says, new fly high, for your information, height and spin not an issue, driver speed 107. Yeah, I mean, you've definitely got speed, but you haven't got speed to potentially use the 4-iron because you're slower than me. Again, that all depends on how much dynamic loft you deliver, but yes, if you want to go down that route of a long iron, the fly high would absolutely be the way I would be going down. Perry says, I've noticed Mini Ninja is toe high recently in pulling her putts. Whether lie does that, I don't know. That's in line with physics. Okay, so the interesting thing when it comes to this, let's just have a little quick chat about that. Let's get through here. Mr. 25 says, I have a green dot ping G5 crazy. Oh yeah, I remember those. With a 38-inch shaft, green 38. Green dot, or do we talk about the 5-iron being, yeah. Green dot, for a second I thought that's a long putter. Green dot is 2 upright. I got it so I could stand more upright, allow me to practice more before my back starts screaming at me. Oh yeah, I got you on that one. Kieran says, I know from a recent conversation I would suggest to use lie angle 68 degrees. Oh yeah, I suppose that depends on shaft length and stuff, but yep. You are a tall boy, so yep. Fran says, thanks. Testing, this is an issue. Can't find any store in the Netherlands that can carry them for testing. Really? Wow. Okay, that is difficult. Very difficult. Richard says, hi Jay, was pretty close on 2090 driving distance. Yes, going back to from Stats for Strokes. It was actually quite, I mean, I specifically made it a little bit easier last time, just so, well, sometimes it can be a bit difficult if you give too difficult questions. Some people have and have not got the time to research, so I just made it a little bit easier. But yeah, and Mr. 25 is 6'4". Yeah, you're a decently tall gentleman. Harry says, Franz, you might try the Head Pro of, there you go. Harry's trying to help. Right, so when it comes to lie angle of putters. Now we all talk about lie angle when it comes to irons. Irons makes a huge difference. It really does, makes a huge difference having the correct lie, because you have a certain amount of loft and obviously a certain amount of speed. The ball is in the air for a long time, and so it can make a massive difference when it comes to obviously the wrong lie angle. Because if you imagine, by the use of my phone, if I was to pop that at the camera there, and that's the time, 1927, and if I was just not as in, I'm not doing this, I'm not facing it different like that. If I literally just face it like that, what happens is the loft looks over there, the loft looks over there, because we have loft looking at a certain, no different if you had a loft which looked at the sky and you change the lie angle, it would obviously make a huge difference. Go to 0 and go like this, it makes no difference. Lie makes no difference with loft 0. We'll put that one out there straight away. Loft 0, lie angle problems, high handle, low handle, makes no difference to the direction of the golf ball as it comes off the face. As soon as you add loft, it does. Now, the reason why people get a little bit confused on this one, obviously we talk about irons. Irons have a, well, much more loft, we'll call it, has X amount, obviously not this one, this is a 4-iron, but effectively they have loft, and so the ball stays in the air. And we're talking about speed. We have a lot of speed that goes through. This golf club for me will go around about 215 yards or so in the air, and so any lie angle issue which makes the initial start line wrong, and also curvature, because you're talking about face to path delivery, so you can have a curvature associated with it as well, which will mean that this will have a huge problem when it comes to lie if it's wrong. You will have a dispersion potential issue, not to mention how you interact with the ground and everything. There's so many different reasons why getting the correct lie angle, lie 0, especially can do, is imperative. Right. But I hear you now say, but Jay, you said when you have loft 0, it makes no difference. So surely it makes least or less difference with a driver. Actually, it makes as much difference with driver with a lot less loft than it does, say, with an iron with more loft. Why? Is because we are swinging that driver very quickly, so the golf ball stays in the air for as long as it possibly can do. That's the whole idea of driver. And so with that, even though that the loft looking in the wrong direction associated with poor lie, it means that the ball, yes, it will start off in the wrong direction by smaller amounts than the iron because there's less loft, but because the ball is traveling for a lot further, it's that classic same thing as that dispersion wedge. If that's your straight line and you've got like a 5-degree off angle, if you only go 10 yards, that's not too much. If you now go 200 yards, that's staying on that same wedge and that disappears. And before you know it, it's a big miss. And this is the thing. And so when it comes to a putter, we are talking about a putter has what? Delivered 3 degrees aloft, 2, 3, 4 degrees aloft, depending on the person, sometimes less, on their stroke, but they're only hitting it so relatively gently compared to a driver, and the golf ball is not staying in the air. So there's no associated curvature with it. It's literally just start angle. The biggest difference that you will find actually with lie angle when it comes to putter is more so how the head wants to rotate. When you have more of a toe up idea, there is this more of a barn doory kind of feel and there's more rotation involved. Again, this changes from different golfer to golfer to golfer, but that is a pattern. And then obviously when you have the same the other way around, so you have like toe hanging like this, there is a little bit more of a like that idea where you go this idea like that and it starts becoming like this. Yeah, and that's absolutely is a generalization, but it is fairly common. And so putter lie, physically, when you compare that to the same physics of a driver to an iron, is completely different. When you look at how the individual then uses said putter with the wrong lie, it can be a big difference. Interesting. There you go. Where are we up to now? Spike says, sorry, was talking to doctor, see the surgeon Thursday to get stitches out. Good. Leaving here now to stop by the pro shop and check my clear views. See if my numbers are correct. Yes, Spike, we can talk about that concept on here if you wish. I'll obviously leave that up to you to chat about should you want. Spike has created a little wondrous piece of equipment which I won't really go into because obviously it's down to Spike to be able to publicize it if he wants to, because obviously there's a certain amount of things that Spike has to do before he releases it out to the public, because it is a pretty interesting product that he's made and he's designed, he's created, and I'd be quite happy to help him promote it, because I think what he's created in his mind and then made it, yep, so still testing and verifying numbers, so I won't go into detail what he's made, but it has very promising. Right, so right, well, we're going to go to the next one. By all means, guys, we have the chat going. Pop on there with any comments that you have. I will just continue to go through the news as I digress and I get distracted from other bits and pieces going on in the chat, and I'll just go back to my next topic. Nelly Corder. Right, let's go. Driver Maxim reminder. Oh God, Perry, just do me a favour. You did. Hang on, it was. I'll have to look at it. Unless you can very, very quickly. Hang on, sorry. Cool. Perry, if you can write down very, very quickly just to remind my brain, because my brain is going about 17,000 miles an hour with all the bits that are going on. Fran says, how short can you play a fairway wood shaft before creating issues with lie angle, e.g. E.g., can I shorten play forward at length? Absolutely, yeah. At 7 wood length, of course you can. You can if you want to. There are going to be changes. You are going to vary the shaft flex marginally. Obviously, you're going to be butt trimming. If you're going to tip trim, big difference. But butt trim, not necessarily. But then you're going to, lie angle is not going to be the issue. If you're going to be chopping off 1.5 inches or so off the top of my head, very quickly, I could be wrong with the amount of between 4 and 7, but 1.5 inches or so off the shaft length, what you're going to do is effectively change its swing weight. So you are going to have to make that head a little bit heavier. If not, it's going to feel like you are swinging something, well, just a shaft. The head's not going to be attached to it. It will be, but it won't feel that way because it will be very light. And so you may have to add a little bit of lead tape, weight, or anything on the head to add some swing weight back to it. That's right. Perry just said you had a maxim something like low heel. Something like low heel, high toe. Oh, was this the gear effect one? Is that the, talking about gear effect, how gear effect works on the toe, heel, high and low? Is that the right one? Yeah, cool, right, okay. So, does everybody know what gear effect is? So, hang on a sec, what I will do for a bit of fun. Do you know what gear effect is? I can't even spell, as you can see. Is, just do that one, yes or no. Right, so just going to do a poll very quickly, pop up there. Do you know what gear effect is? Very simple. For the people that are watching, just click yes or no, because it'd be interesting to see if you truly understand the intricacies of gear effects, how it's created, etc. So Grant says, I am looking at picking up some new Pro 245 irons. Is there any additional info that you think I should know before making the purchase or making a purchase? Okay, Grant, shall I assume you've had a proper fitting? What I mean by proper fitting, I don't mean an online fitting, I mean a fitting with the use of one of those, like the swing, the DNA, shaft, analyzer, jobby. So you know exactly what shaft you need. Because if the answer to the question is in any way no on that, then absolutely you need to get properly custom fit. There is a myriad of reasons as to why that you really need to go get a proper custom fit with an account which uses Swing DNA. I can go into it, so obviously I can. Now, the other thing would be, I don't know your swing speed, I don't know how fast you are, so if you're really quick, and just be wary obviously of the distance created by the 245s. They are fairly strong lofted, 30 degree for a 7 iron, so they will go. They will kind of, yeah, want to or go out there. Obviously, if you swing quick and you don't mind hitting 180 something odd yards, 7 iron carry numbers, then that's great. But if you are someone who swings at that speed and is not then prepared for what happens at the other end of the bag, and then also potentially slightly bigger distance gap between your irons anyway, then yeah, I would be looking at very much so how many wedges you are going to need, because I mean pitching wedges, I don't know what the pitching, I can't remember what the pitching wedge is now on a 245. Someone remind me very quickly. Is it 44 degrees or so? And of course, if you have a 50, 54, 58, a 52, 56, 60, whatever your wedges setups are, you're going to be finding yourself, you've got a gap, and that you can't have that into the bag. I've always said, when it comes to people buying their equipment, make sure you've got enough golf clubs in the scoring area, on the areas of which you should be accurate. The whole idea, obviously, when you're talking about your scoring irons, is plenty of loft, that's when your expectations are greater. That's when you need to be hitting target more. And so I'd always say to someone, look, if you're going to be concerned over should you get a 4-iron or should you get a proper gap wedge to make sure that there are no gapping issues, if there is a toss-up between the two, dump the 4-iron. Reason being is because when you're 200 yards away and whatever handicap you are, there's a expectation of your handicap of how many times, give you 100 goes, how many times you should hit target for your handicap in the situation that you're in. If I then put you at 110 yards and give you the gap wedge and says, right, have that another 100 shots, your expectations, quite rightly, should be higher, and they will be higher. You should hit target far more at 110 yards than you should do at 200. So you must make sure that you've got the right golf clubs doing the right jobs and no wacko gappings. I mean, some people can make bigger gaps work. That's great because they've built their game around it. If you're changing your golf equipment and depending on how you've got your equipment set up already, it can be like a bit of a whoa, shock. So yeah, just bear that one in mind. 43 degrees, the Mizuno 240, well, there you go. Yeah, so if you've got an old setup of say 52, 56, 60, or even 50, 55, 60, 43, you're gonna have too many degrees of gap. So you're gonna have to rethink your wedges potentially, or at least you're gonna have to think about how you weaken potentially your 245s. Right, we've done the, I don't know how many more have we got? We've got 19 votes. So 3/4 of you, give or take 3/4 of you know what gear effect is, but there are, give or take, five that don't. So it'll be interesting. We'll go through that in a second when we let the poll finish. Oh, there we go. Richard says, my wife has the touch when it comes to those deft little wedge shots around the green. Myself, I use the lumberyard technique. Wedges are 2 before I yeah, it can be quite frustrating when someone's naturally got a good touch around the green and then a more experienced golfer should do, but then sometimes doesn't, which is, yeah. Grant says, thank you. You're welcome, Grant. Thank you very much for posting the question. Yorkie Bar 1962 says, hello, by the way. Hi, how important is the right ball? Massively. I am down to 68 miles an hour with a 7-iron due to back problems, so how much difference can a right ball make? Brilliant question. I'll get to that one because it deserves it. 23 votes. We are still at 74 to 26, so I will definitely go through gear effect because there are a good 6 or so of you that do not understand gear effect properly. Okay, and then Michael Marsh says, did you hear when Callaway Apex 24 is coming out? I heard June 18th or so. I was getting to that on my little list of things, and so yes, I do need to speak to Callaway on what's going on, etc. But yes, I have heard it is coming out. I need to understand what models there are and stuff like that, because obviously they did split their launch, etc. So it'll be interesting to see what's coming. It is getting close to silly, or the start of silly season. Right, let's get to the gear effect. Let's end the poll there. We've got an exactly, on 24 votes, we've got 75 and 25, exactly 3/4. Right, so thank you very much for that. Appreciate that, will probably pop up there. There we go. Right, so gear effect is effectively, ow, my, shouldn't sit like that, hurt your knee. And where is it? Over here, cool. Right, I still have not done a test on this one yet, obviously for 2 reasons. One being the fact that I've been a little bit unable to because of my shoulder injury. And 2, the fact this is the new 11 NH01. Their limited edition driver. Again, I don't know how limited it will be. It will be one of those ones that if it goes really well, it won't be so limited. It will go into full mass scale production because obviously if they're going to be selling loads of these, they're going to be wanting to make as much profit as they possibly can do. Obviously, that's a business. That's the whole idea. But gear effect. Right, so let's just imagine. We don't have to imagine, we've got a golf club right in front of me. Right, there's the face of the golf club. As you can see, there's the face of the golf club. Should you hit that in the middle? Now, It can get really, really complex, so I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of the complexities of how lie and rotation and center of mass, etc. affect gear effect, but I'll give you the 101 side of things. So I can go into more detail should you wish. But let's just imagine you have a ball struck in the middle, and we are talking about, let's say this is a driver where the center of mass, the center of gravity, is directly in line with the middle of the face. So we are just going to get a middle strike, middle hit, everything else is happy like that. Itchy YouTube snozzer, sorry for that. And we're going to get a perfectly straight ball flight if we have a zero path, zero face delivery. So we get a perfectly good shot. Now, what happens when you hit it off the toe? Let's say what happens off the toe. Everyone's hit a shot from the toe or the heel. They've noticed that you can feel this. You can feel the torque, you can feel the twist, you can feel you've not hit a very good shot. So what happens, let's just go get a ball. I'm gonna have to go get a ball. Just go grab a ball. Right, what happens when you hit off the toe? The face opens up as you feel the twist open. But what happens is, as you hit the toe, the face opens up, the ball twists in, it kind of rolls into the middle of the center face. No different when you hit out the heel, the face kind of goes like that way, yeah, but the ball then rotates this way, yeah, so it counter gears against the face rotation. That's just the effects of physics on two center of gravities not meeting. That's the whole idea. So gear effect is effectively the rotation of the ball rolling in towards the center of mass of the head. Now, of course, that center of mass of the head can move because obviously you've got draw bias drivers and drivers with movable weights. We'll get to the new Titleist drivers in a second, but that's what you have. And so as soon as you hit from different parts of the face, you get the ball rolling in. Now, the interesting part that obviously there is no such thing as side spin on a golf ball. Just doesn't happen that way. What happens is, in the real world, side spin is actually not side spin. Side spin is what we see as tilt axis. Like a plane flies, it tilts in the air. That's my plane noise anyway. That what happens as you get backspin, but you get backspin on a tilt axis, and backspin on a tilt axis, and of course that determines curvature. And so that's what happens when you hit on the toe, your face will twist open, the ball will want to rotate into the middle of the golf club as it's rotating backwards, as it's getting spun backwards by loft. And so then you'll have this tilt axis applied to it, and of course you'll get draw. Now, of course, the club face is opened up, you've got roll and bowl on the face to start that golf ball further right, for it to then tilt axis back in, curve back in. They're designed for that. That's the whole idea of bulge and roll on wooded drivers and fairway woods and hybrids. They've got roll and bowl. Roll and bowl? Bulge and roll. Roll and bowl. That's a new one. So they've got that already designed into the head. So it has a certain amount. Of course, some work better than others, but that's the concept. That's the whole idea of it. Richard said, oh, the brasserie is back. You lost me on that one. Does the new Titleist 2 wood fit on a driver? Does the new Titleist 2 wood fit on a driver adapter or a fairway wood one? That's a really, really good question. I am not entirely certain because I'll be honest, when it comes to Titleist stuff, I am not hugely, because of this, me trying to get hold of Titleist is ridiculously hilarious. Yeah, if I had them here, I'd be able to test them and tell you, but I don't. So, Rich, you're going to have to explain. Oh, the brasserie is back. I don't get it. Always partial to the Cleek and Baffy. Myself. Wow, I tell you what, I must be. Yeah, you lost me on that one, Rich. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's the whole idea. Now, what happens when you hit it high and low on the face? We've done the heel and toe, because obviously you're talking about how the golf ball gears. Now, what happens when you hit it high? What happens when you hit it low? Well, the same thing happens when you're talking about twist. Yeah, when you hit it heel and toe. What happens though when you hit it high on the face and low on the face. Now again, we will not go through the whole idea of how loft affects things, because loft does affect it, lie angle affects how the golf ball gears, and I won't go into it in depth because it will bore the pants off of people, because we are talking about a different reason for different drivers with different specs, with different CGs and everything. But effectively it's this: if everything is equal, path, face angle, lie, everything, and you hit it high on the face with a neutral head, you are going to get a twist. So when we're talking about twist this way, yeah, from that axis, we are now talking about twist this way, yeah. So you hit high on the face, and basically the head, I can only do it because obviously through the shaft, but I can't twist the head because I'm not as strong. But as I hit high on the face, it kind of does that. The head wants to do that, not the shaft. The head twists. It wants to open up. But because of doing that, it also launches higher. We have got the curved face, remember, from when it comes to woods, which promote obviously the higher flight anyway. It already has its designed in it already. And of course, as it goes up, it wants to basically go down. Remember, no different to when we hit it off the toe, it wants to gear in. When you hit it high on the face, it wants to go towards the middle of the golf club. And so what happens is you get a reduction of spin. You don't get top spin, you get a reduction of spin. No different. If you go down the bottom of the face, what happens is obviously you get it launching lower because there's less loft on there, and the fact you get twist as well. But the ball wants to climb up. As the ball climbs up, it increases spin. So toe, draw spin, heel, cut spin, fade spin. High on the face, you get a higher launch and lower spin, not forward spin. You don't ever get top spin, you get a reduced amount of backspin, and then low on the face, you get a lower launch, but you get increased spin. There you go. That's the whole idea of it. Now, it does get mighty more complicated when you start talking about different CG heads, how lie and loft make a difference, and how rotation of the head makes a difference during impact. Yep, but for just the pure side of things, there you go. That's roll and bulge, and more importantly, gear effect explained. Gear effect has less effect when the center of gravity gets closer to the face. So that's why an iron has next to no gear effect, where a driver with a head is so big, it's so far further back, it will have more gear effect. Of course, when it comes to a fairway wood not being as big as a driver, it will have less. Go to a hybrid, it has less. Go to a driving iron, will have some, but it has less. And then go to a blade or anything else like that, it has even less. And we're talking about a game improvement iron. A game improvement iron will have more gearing than a blade. And bearing in mind, there is no roll and bulge on a flat-faced iron. So actually, game improvement irons can be less accurate when you hit them off with ones or parts of the face, depending on many other things, but yeah. Right, there you go. Right, so we are going to go back to what Yorkie Bar says. Ball. Right. Can ball make, what difference does balls make? Massive. So balls can make a huge difference through mainly one thing. Distance is an interesting thing, because we're talking mainly ball speed. There is differences between the different compressions of golf ball, even though I can't stand the word, but that's how it's measured. There will be a slightly different amount of ball speed generated with different compressions of golf ball. It is marginal, so don't get me wrong. We're not talking about, if you go to a super hard to a super soft, there's like 50% difference. We are talking very, very marginal amounts, but there is, so I have to say that there is, because there is. We are talking about in the world of amateurs, guys, not being funny. Amateur golfers have far, far bigger variance in their own club deliveries and how they hit it across the face, and anything like a golf ball will make a difference if they, yeah. But what a golf ball will do differently. So I've got the old golf ball here in my hands, and down on the deck, I'll go get it. I've got the new golf ball, as in what I say by that, by the Mizuno RB Tour. So this is the RB Tour and this is the RB Tour, two RB Tours. However, This one is the old ball, where this one is the new ball. What I mean by the new ball is basically, there's differences in the construction, yes, but mainly the dimple pattern. The big change that this one has had over this one, there are some changes to the core, etc., which has a marginal difference, but the big difference is how this one goes through the air. So this one here, the old one, will want to spin distinctly more, like distinctly more. We're talking with a 7-iron, could be quite easy as 1,000 RPM, sometimes more depending on your delivery. And of course, when you go into driver, that will also spin a bit more and stuff like this. Now, people have a huge thing about how bad spin is. Now, for an individual like myself with plenty of speed, then potentially spin is bad if it's wasteful spin. Now, generally speaking, I'm someone who, because of my speed, I need to be, I need to monitor my spin. I need to bear that in mind when I'm looking at golf balls, etc., because I've got enough speed, I don't want to waste the flight. I also want as much stopping power as I possibly can do. When we're talking about slow speeds, you know, this is where Yorkie Bar says, 1962 says, that he's swinging around about 68 miles an hour with a 7-iron. So we are absolutely, just definitely getting in the realm of spin issues. Not too much, too little, because, especially with driver and something with less loft. So as soon as we get into a situation where we reduce the speed, well, can't help it, that's physics. You get speed orientated spin, or spin orientated speed, which way you want. So of course, as soon as you start taking speed off, you reduce the spin rate on golf balls. If anyone has ever seen my reviews that I do at 3 different swing speed for the equipment that I test, one of the big differences you can see, ball speed changes, of course, you're swinging slower, you're going to get a different ball speed. Launch angle stays the same, there's nothing different. As long as I keep everything else exactly the same, the golf ball still launch no differently. But the big difference is between the 70 miles an hour test and the 90 miles an hour test is the spin rate. Of course, you're going to get a more carry because the ball speeds up, but the big difference you're going to get is spin rate difference. Now, if you also then put, I mean, I do those tests with an RB tour. Yeah, so I try and give everything exactly the same. All the tests I do are with the same golf ball. Obviously, I can't do it on the same day, etc. But effectively, I'm trying to keep as much apples to apples testing as possible. However, if you then go flick it for this one, for a senior golfer, actually with the increase, and especially with driver, if you have a higher spinning golf ball, this is why the Kirkland, I think it was the Kirkland in the most recent My Golf Spy massive ball test that they did, a lot of people were absolutely having a go at the Kirkland balls because they spin like a lot, and so they were the shortest ball on test. And of course everyone goes, how crap that is, oh, the Kirkland ball's terrible. But there's a really big proviso on those, no different to the old style RB Tour and Tour X of Mizuno, no different to the Kirkland ball. These are brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, and far better than the brand new RB Tour. Far better than, oh, have I got one back here? Oh, I normally do for reference. The Titleist Pro V, yeah, Pro V1, the Titleist Pro V1, brand new ball. Far better than that, far better than the AVXs, far better than anything else like that based on distance, because they do it on the basis of obviously maximising ball speed as best they can do. All manufacturers try and do that, but trying to moderate the spin level off the golf ball. And that's for a driver, especially when we're talking about tests of driver speeds of 100 miles an hour plus, is it really gives the golf balls that spin lower an artificial advantage. You get someone who swings really slow, spin is their friend. They need spin to keep the golf ball in the air. That old golf ball for Mizuno, and obviously the new golf ball when it comes to the Kirkland that spins a lot, can make a massive difference to a senior players, or at least a golfer that doesn't swing very fast, because it gives them added spin. The amount of times I've seen seniors play golf shots and they just hit shots and they just loop like that. Golf ball goes up in the air and just lands on the ground within a very short space of time, and it runs quite a lot. Why? The golf ball's got literally no spin on it, and of course it just falls out of the sky. Change them for a slightly spinnier golf ball and instantly has a massive difference on their flight. They start carrying the golf ball so much better. So in answer to your question, Yorkie Bar 1962, absolutely golf balls can make a big difference. Right. Oh, sorry, there you go, Richard. So I'm with you now. Richard, because I didn't go back far enough in the back in the day, how they were all named. Yes, they were. Sorry. So Spike says that roll and bulge puts a whole new challenge measuring loft and lie. Ask me how I know, lol. Still grasping for a solution. We'll do on woods, bud. Absolutely. Irons, absolutely no problem whatsoever. But when it comes to woods, there's an yes, interesting. Right, we go. So full golf fixer. Spike says I use the Mizuno 566 golf ball. I love the softer feel. Then ones, yes, those ones there, the blue covered ones. Oh, well, okay, ones I've already had a look at them because I've managed to put that one back to front. Yes, I can remember they did those ones. They also did them in orange for the people who loved orange, and also the yellow. So they made them in yellow, they made them in orange, and they also made them in white. There you go. And they are a great ball because obviously they were soft. I love a soft ball, generally speaking. That's why I play an RB Tour, not an RB Tour X. Even though technically I would suit an RB Tour X, I still go down the RB Tour because I prefer the feel. And there you go. Feel is the most important thing. Of course, I always work on the basis of, if you're going to fit someone from the green backwards, not from the tee forwards, because again, it is far more important that an individual feels comfortable and likes the golf ball off the face of the putter and the wedges and the chips and the approaches and stuff like that, far more than the relatively small amount of distance that they will either gain or lose from the driver. There you go. Right, so Richard says, so typical amateurs also fail to achieve a compressive swing. Got to try and stay away from that C word. With good divot pattern and adequate shaft lean, face delofting, all factors that reduce spin and distance. Yes, potentially, yeah, depending on speed, depending on how much they deloft and how much they angle attack down and stuff, but yes. Fran says, can I put a fairway wood shaft in a driving iron? Yeah, well, okay, you've got to worry about tip size and stuff like that, so the great thing with these is that these had, which was it, these ones, they had fairway hybrid shafts in them. So if I go back to the old 2-iron from the first fly high, this had the what was it, hazardous RDX smoke, and this was, I'm pretty certain this was the hybrid shaft, no different to the new one. Still has, I've got the same one, yeah, exactly the same, stack shaft, different head and different loft, in a hybrid shaft. So yes, but you have to be careful and have to be conscious of tip size, because not obviously all driving irons will take hybrid shafts because tip size is different, etc, but yeah. I'm mid-90s driver and use tour response. Again, as long as everything fits, you'll struggle to find even, I mean, I'm really looking forward to testing the 11 driver, really am. I'm still waiting on the shaft. So Richard, if you are watching, I will message you to remind you, but you did say you were going to send it last week, that I'm still waiting on that KBS TD shaft to test, because again, it just feels there's not a problem with it at all. It's just it feels not very nice because it feels like a rubber band. Does it make any difference really to the data? Not much whatsoever, I'll be honest, because that's a fairly weak shaft in this. It's a 45 gram shaft, and I know I'm not the strongest person in the world, but I mean, without very little effort whatsoever, that thing is bending like you would not believe. It's like a fishing rod. And at 45 grams, that's going to be blooming brilliant for the slow swing speed golfer. Trying to create some extra speed with that. I mean, that feels light as a feather, really does. But yeah, so I need that shaft, really. Right, so Yorkie says, might borrow a Costco ball of my friend and try to see if there's a difference to my Q-Star divide. Thanks for the answer. Yes, best thing you can do is if you can get it into a launch monitor environment, so you can take atmospherics out, you can take many different parts of your delivery out the equation. Again, if you're testing it out in the open air and you're not measuring obviously how you deliver the golf club into the golf ball, unless you are a robot where you can just deliver the same every single time, which most people aren't robots, that just X amount of shots, you won't see any, or you won't, there has to be a big difference between piece of equipment, whether it be golf club or ball, to notice a sizable, noticeable difference in such a small data set. But if you can get into a launch monitor environment where you can monitor how much loft you're delivering, you can monitor how much angle of attack, where your club path is, where your face to path is, where you're striking it, that then can quite easily then show the difference between a golf ball or not. What the propensity for one ball to do over another ball, will it spin more, will it launch slightly higher or lower, whatever it be. So, Mr. Dufire says, I have a stack of the old Kirkland balls, now pretty comparable to the higher end balls, decent feel around the greens and spin adequately off the short irons, only use them on holes with hazards I don't want to donate a $5 golf ball to. Everyone's got that ball in the bag that they go, it's a really tricky one. It's time for the pinnacle. Stuff like that. It's time for the top flight. Top flight's coming out. I mean, I'll be honest, when it comes to golf balls, well, to be fair, actually, with the golf ball situation, I do need to speak to Mizuno and getting some more golf balls, because that's, I'll be honest, I'm getting a bit low on golf balls. And it's a struggle to do tests if I haven't got the golf balls. And now, yes, I have got other golf balls I could quite easily use. The problem is it then just nullifies any point of comparison between any other review that I've done in the past, because if I start changing golf ball halfway through different things, I mean, you can't compare anything then, because you're not comparing apples to apples. So I do need a new supply of the RB Tour, and again, that's the golf ball I play anyway, so I'm not about to change golf ball on the basis of that. So I just need to contact Mizuno again and ask them if they could send some more through, because if not, it's going to get slightly dicey. Right, so Richard says, Robinson makes me laugh with his ball testing, playing 2 or 3 holes on his home course. Absurd. Ball testing, just, I mean, it's, yeah, you can do by feel if you want. That's subject to wind direction, because obviously sound travels. So if it's a windy day, you've probably noticed yourself when you hit a shot, when the wind is going a different direction, sometimes you can't even hear the hit. Sometimes the wind is like blowing in your ears that much. But your strike makes a huge difference. I just know in here, now obviously in here, I've got acoustic paneling everywhere. And so it enables me to critique the sound of strike, the feel, quite easily. Now, and also I've got quad. Quad tells me to the millimeter exactly where I'm hitting the golf shot, or even to the 0.1 millimeter nowadays. And also to the 0.1 of a degree where I'm delivering everything when it comes to relative head dynamics. So I can, yes, critique how a golf ball feels. If you go outside, this is where things will take the golf ball outside and see how it feels. Well, you can do, but it's adding a boatload of useless information, useless noise to the data. So if you want to understand how a golf ball differs on the overall, on the whole, in a situation like a boring, bland, data-driven studio situation this is, you can tell the difference. There's so many things when it comes to being outside that are muddying the waters, shall we say, speak, when it comes to understanding what a golf ball feels like. So yeah, 2 or 3 holes to me, you can do it. And I'm pretty certain that James does very well out of his videos. So obviously other people watch it, and congratulations to him on that success alone. Yokoba says, good idea, a trip to my local indoor range, golf range then, thanks. You're welcome. Richard says, I hit top flight monogram balls exclusively, yeah. Harry says, like Yokoba, I have some health issues, compromising speed, normally use the steel fibre 110s, yeah. Shaft my irons, tried lighter shafts yesterday with hardly any speed gains. Isn't it normal to gain? No. I've known people to gain speed with heavy shafts because in their own brain they feel they can commit to it because it's more substantial, whatever, it goes in their head. And if you measure in between a light shaft and a heavy shaft, they actually swing the heavy shaft faster. So we are dealing with human beings. And human beings, if we're dealing with robots that just have a certain amount of effort get to put in, you have a certain amount of push, and depending on the mass of the object being pushed, it'll either move at a certain, accelerate at a certain speed, or accelerating at a slightly faster speed if it's lighter. We are not robots, we are weirdos, and we are full of people that just does things strangely. And so welcome to golf. Right, so what are we now? There. The Kirklands are just over $1 a ball. It's good value. Absolutely is. $1 a golf ball. Get them while they're there. Speed. Speed, yeah, on that one. I've just answered that one. There we go. Perry says, do you know you've been having too many, you know when you've had too many bad rounds when your balls start turning up in range? Yep. Adrian says, do balls deteriorate with age? Yes, they do. Oh, hang on. No, okay, what do you mean? As in, if, let's say this Titleist Pro V1 here. If I bought this from brand new and then never touched it for 10 years, is that what you mean? You two drink time. I have a large stock of new TaylorMade Penta TP5 balls that are 10 years old plus, stored in the house. Am I losing out by using them? No. Now, sometimes if they are submerged, yes, there will be a difference over there. That's why lake balls are a little bit, but there you go. Richard said, two Bolidor Kirklands used to be $1. Top flights are still just under $1 a ball. It's a bit of a race to the bottom. We're getting to the point now, but yeah. Kieran says, in your studio, even I can tell when I hit low toe. Well, the quad helps as well. The interesting thing about the when you work with a launch monitor that has head measuring capabilities, the more you work on it from a client's point of view, from a student's point of view, it's quite interesting how very quickly people get quite easily attuned to using the technology, and especially when you got things like quad, which does things graphically and then also to the nth degree of accuracy, that people themselves start to understand. As soon as they start hitting it, they can then feel low toe this, low toe, high heel, that, whatever it be, and then they start learning, and they take that to the golf course, and they can understand where before you're hitting shots, you've got no understanding whatsoever where you're hitting it. Instantly, as soon as you start working more with the likes of quad, head measuring data and stuff like that, you're hitting shots on the golf course, and you're knowing straight away exactly where you hit it from, not from having a look at the golf club and went, oh, that was terrible, where was that? Oh yeah, look how heely that one was. As soon as you hit it, you can feel exactly where you hit it. And that's one of the great things about working with head measuring technology. It just further empowers and just gives you so much more knowledge about what you're doing wrong, because we don't hit good shots all the time. You have every intention to hit a really nice shot. Unfortunately, things don't go right every single time. Well, things don't go right a lot of the time. And so learning what you're doing and learning where you're hitting it and learning necessary then after that how to then rectify it make a huge difference. Right, Mr. 25, I can still get 2 dozen Kirkland for about $26, $28 in the US. We're loving the deals on the Kirkland golf balls at the moment. My mistake, Kirkland's ordered yesterday are coming at $1.56 a golf ball, tax included. Richard says, hit monogram golf balls, your fellow members will return your way with 1 for nothing. That's possibly true. Adrian says yes. Ah, sorry, that was the other bit of it, yeah. So as long as they're brand new and they've not been stored in a goldfish bowl or underwater or in UV light or anything else like that, then they should be relatively absolutely fine to play. Durability, they might, I say that 3 times on the basis of being very might not quite be as durable, because obviously when you're talking about rubber. Anyone who's had Scale Electrics, can you remember the Scale Electrics things, you know, were sort of like the cars that run on electric tracks, and you press a trigger and they go around the track, and the more you press the trigger, the faster they go, and you press the trigger too much, they spin off around the corner. You got to go pick them up, make sure you don't damage the brushes, and then go back on the metal track, and off they go. Yeah, that's how I so if anyone has noticed an old Scale Electrics car's tyres after years of not being used, or even years of being used after, no different to car tyres, the rubber starts to go hard, starts to go brittle, it starts to crack. You get it on car tyres, you get it on everything, it's rubber. And so there is a potential that as time goes on, there will be a propensity for it to lose some of its rubberiness. I don't know what the technical term for being manly ball is, bendy, what's the bounce back ability, bounciness, whatever it be. It might lose a little bit of its elasticity. But as a general rule, even if they're 10 years old, you should be absolutely fine. All right, so we have, Perry says, Mini Ninja collection time. Thanks for the gear effect explanation. Very good. Anyone that? That's a new one. Oh, yeah. Right, Adrian, you're welcome, by the way. Night all, night. Hope Mini Ninja is doing well. So Adrian says, durability isn't normally an issue, but I did have one last 3 rounds recently. It was fine. Wow. Okay. I'll give you an idea. Golf balls generally for me, they don't, as soon as they, 1 round, it's not used again, not in anger. They get put in the practice bag, and so you hit them and like around the putting green and stuff like that. Don't use your golf ball for multiple rounds of golf. There's reasons for that. One, obviously, we're not just hitting shots in a dry environment where the only thing that this poor old golf ball's got to put up with is being smacked by a golf club and then decelerated rapidly by a impact screen. It gets hit by trees and other hard objects, which can have an effect greatly on the dimple pattern, the thickness of the dimples. There was a study done, I can't remember what it was now, they reduced the dimple pattern depth by a ridiculously small amount on one side of the golf ball, and they show how weird it wanted to fly. And we're talking about scuffs and stuff like that when you hit golf balls and they scuff badly, and people still use them, and aerodynamically that golf ball is going to do some wacko stuff. There you go. But yep, use newish golf balls if you can. Don't go crazy. My golf balls are immediately deleted on hitting trees, cart paths, and losing cover to sharp grooves. Otherwise, they live until lost. So yeah, so when it comes to being in a simulator environment, and plus as well, I'll be honest, I wanted to protect my screen as best as possible. This golf ball that you see here is relatively new, but you can start seeing that the shininess has started to go. And you don't have that same, you can feel this is slightly rougher. This is more brand new, obviously brand new Preview 1 here. I never use it, it's just a case here for reference, but again, you use a slight scuffed, it's not scuffed, but it's a slight rougher feel. Obviously that's not good for the screen. So again, if you want to maximize the length of your hitting screen, etc., when you're in an environment such as this, make sure that you have fairly new balls. Kieran says, early start, mate, so we'll catch up next time. No, thank you very much for popping on. I will be, well, it depends. I will be on here for not that much longer. I think it depends on how many people want to join in, how many questions to be asked. Right, let's go talk about Titleist, shall we? Here we go, very, very quickly. This is what the new drivers look like. So we have GT2, GT3, and we have GT4. So obviously with no GT1, there is a potential there to make the GT1. And of course, a lot of manufacturers recently have been having added in the Max version, obviously Ping's G430 10K Max, Mizuno have had their Max 230, and so yeah, everyone has had the they've been keen to add halfway through. So I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but obviously we have a little bit of room now. We haven't got a GT1 or a GT5, so we have a little bit of room either side for them to do what they want to do. So GT2, you see on the left-hand side there, that's going to be the biggest one of the lot. That's going to be the one with the largest footprint. That's going to be the one that's potentially the most forgiving, the highest spin, and the one that's going to suit a slower swing speed golfer, or at least the golfer which does have a tendency to use most of the face. Talking about that face, let's just have a little look at this one. And what do you think of the new face on here? Let's see if I can make it a bit bigger so it's not going to, there we go. I don't make it too big. There we go. What do you think of the face? So it looks like the TSR, but more bold. So the TSR did also have that similar groove pattern, but this one is now all the way to the top and bottom of the face. Everything is all those weird and wonderful grooves, and of course we have a bit in the middle which they would rather you hit. Different-ish, well, it's different-ish design from the TSR, whatever. It's a slight change. It is quite an aggressive design, I must admit. It's not something that I automatically would like, I gravitate to. I don't, but it is what it is in that situation. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'm not absolutely against it. So when it goes back to the drivers, that one is butt ugly. Richard doesn't like it then. At least they'll be easily recognizable from a distance on TV and YouTube videos. Yep, you're right, there will be. Right, here we go. Let's just flick over to that so I can actually see. Yorkie Bar 1962 says, just another quick question. No problem whatsoever. Considering my speed and probably needing more spin, is there a Mizuno ball you can recommend to try, as there seems to be, as they seem to be a decent price? Well, the RB566, I think that's going to be changed. I think the as in, don't hold me on this one. But the RB566 is a slightly higher spin profile golf ball. It's soft as well, which is, I really love the 566. My longest shot, this is the thing where it comes to distance and stuff, my longest shot that I've ever hit was with an RB566, and that is the lowest compression golf ball of Mizuno's range. So there's nothing wrong with the distance of a 566, even at the slowest, smallest compression number that Mizuno choose to use of their golf balls. Now you could argue, if I'd have done the exact same hit with a RB Tour X, it would have been longer, and they'd possibly be right. Yes, they would be, but not by much, not by much at all. And I would rather play a 566 than a Tour X, just because of the feel. Okay, you put an RB Tour in my hands where it has a softer compression number. I hate the word compression, but it has a softer compression number, so it is softer to the touch, chip, putt, and chip, pitch, and putt with. With drive, you don't really notice any difference whatsoever, but again, it's what I prefer to use as a generalized whole, not just off the driver. So RB566 would be my pick. Richard Bicker says, at least they'll be easily recognisable from the SA. That's what I said. All right, got that one already. Jay, have you any thoughts on the rise of so-called mini drivers? Well, there was a rise and there was a fall, and there is a current rise again. I don't think they're going to be around for long before they go again, and they'll be risen again in the next. However, it is just I have a thought on them, but again, if they were the best thing since sliced bread, they wouldn't have gone beforehand to make a comeback, and I'm pretty certain they'll be gone again in the next year or two, but they'll make a comeback. It's a sales thing. Yorko says, thanks, I'll take a sleeve into the indoor range. Well, why not? Give them a test. But remember, test them from the green backwards. Don't test them from the driver forwards, because again, you need to make sure that you're happy. Isn't a mini driver a 3-wood? No, generally speaking, a mini driver is a CC size in between that of a driver and a 3-wood. So it is smaller than a driver, but much bigger than a 3-wood. And it has loft similar to a very strong 3-wood, if not 2-wood kind of idea. It is that idea of making something where for me, it's, no, it doesn't go in my brain. Richard says, I think the mini driver is a solution to the demise of the driver of the deck shots due to huge driver faces depths. I disagree. Have you not seen the DOD King on the YouTube? He hits them perfectly. But you're right, yes, it's much more difficult now to hit driver off the deck. Some would argue you don't need to hit driver off the deck. Some would argue also that unless you've got a boatload of speed, you shouldn't be hitting driver off the deck. And actually, when you look at the distance, there's not much, if any, benefit using driver off the deck than a normal fairway would. And because of the fact that you've got hardly any loft whatsoever, with the propensity for worrying about tilt axis on the golf ball curvature, there is actually no benefit hitting a driver off the deck, especially nowadays. But yes, there's that one. Right, so I've caught up with everything now. It's all up to you. Have I got other ones? Let's do there's a couple of different things I want to show you. Talking about the GT3, that's that weight pad at the bottom, and that's an interesting weight pad. On the basis of this, have you noticed that, okay, we have the heel and the toe weights, which will make it draw biased and fade biased. But if you notice one thing, how very close to the face they are. And of course, if you're going to shift center of gravity quite close to the face, then you are going to have a much bigger difference in potential curvature, or at least tilt axis applied to the golf ball from the off-centered CG, when you have it really close to the face, and that is very close to the face. But what it would also potentially do is make the GT3 quite unforgiving, because that weight, unless they've got a sneaky back weight, when I'm saying the sneaky back weight that you can't see behind there, trying to nullify that front weight to a certain extent, that may be a very interesting golf club to hit. And that's just an observation. I don't know. I haven't had the chance to hit it yet. Will I? I'll see if I can find one to be able to test it. It's very interesting, shall we say, the GT3. Is there anything else I wanted to do on that one? No. Other than the GT4 will be obviously the lowest profile, be the smallest, but it also will be the lowest spin bomber one, least forgiving. That's the whole idea. So I will just finish off with this one. That is Vice Golf, and Vice Golf have now not only gone into the realm of obviously golf balls and apparel and everything else, of which they do amazingly well. The Vice Golf ball is an extremely good golf ball, absolutely is. I used to use them. I still have some of the old golf ball. They are just a very good company. There was a point right early days when they were doing, the reason why I went with Vice Golf, being honest, was purely on the basis of the fact that their value for money was ridiculously good, and they were talking about Pro V1 performance, half the cost or whatever it was, and it was just as good as a Pro V1, and it was less than half the cost. And then it started getting a little bit, now the prices went up a little bit, and it started to become a little bit, now they're still very, very good value for money, but based on the fact that obviously premium golf balls have pushed on in price as well. And yeah, it's just a little bit. So I chose to move on. There's nothing against the company whatsoever. They make amazingly good everything. Balls are brilliant. The bags are really very, very good. Their apparel is just ridiculously good. Their umbrellas are the most over-engineered, highest quality, West German, highest quality umbrellas I've ever seen. Every single thing that Vice do is quality, 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 and it's not ridiculously expensive, and that's why I like the brand. I had a couple of issues with what they do in the past and stuff like that. That's why I've chose to move on to do different things, but effectively I still hold the brand in high regard. So it may be, I'm not quite sure, if there is enough call for me to reach out to test these, then I am happy to do so. They do putters, they do wedges, and now they do irons. They do 2 separate irons. The one on the right hand side there, the one in the blue accent, is their players distance ones. It's their more of a slightly hollow body construction, that kind of idea. They don't make a blade. And then the one on the left, the one with the yellow Vice Golf accent there, that's a little bit more of a game improvement golf club. But effectively they're trying to make decent looking, which I think they've achieved. I think anyone who shows that, the fact that you can have different colours on the back there, you've got the blues, you've got blacks, you've got white, you've got the greens, that yellowy green, whatever they want to call it. I think it's red as well you get as an option. You do have potential for them to be able to get somewhere down into the direct-to-consumer market, and it's getting bigger. The direct-to-consumer market is getting bigger now. When it comes to fitting, that's another completely different question. I don't know. Fitting is an interesting one in itself, but which is always slightly difficult when it comes to the direct-to-consumer market. You really need to know what you need first, which, yeah. Right, so what we got? Yorkie United. To me, a lot of these direct-to-consumer clubs look to be coming out of the same factory. Interesting point. I'm not quite sure if they are or they're not. It would make sense for them to, obviously, there are only a certain amount of manufacturers, generic manufacturers of golf clubs. Obviously, Ping are not going to be making direct-to-consumer manufacturers golf clubs, and every single other brand that have their own manufacturing facilities are not going to be making direct-to-consumer manufactured golf clubs, regardless of how much they want to be paid. It's just a case of when it comes to companies out there which make golf clubs for other companies, then yes, there is going to, but then again, you could argue the same thing. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of companies out there that their designs are quite close, and apart from a little bit of this and a little bit of that, I think the devil's in the detail when it comes to golf club manufacturers. No different to Formula One's a perfectly good example. If it wasn't for the colour of the cars and you just painted them black, they'd look really quite similar, and it would only until you get down to sort of noticing the difference between one car and the other car, you'd see the distinct differences. But to the layman out there, they would, all those black now Formula One cars look identical, and they would have no clue who's in what car whatsoever. The more you get used to seeing the differences and noticing the differences, yes, you'll be able to pick one from out from the other, but it's no different to golf clubs. Golf clubs are very, very similar in that sense. Adrian says the Cobra 3D printed irons look nice. Yes, I'm trying to get hold of the 7-iron to test. Cobra have already said that they are very keen to get one of them in my hands to test, to give it like a full test, obviously considering how I do tests of golf clubs. Because of the fact that they are limited edition, it is very difficult to get hold of media samples were minute. Normally media samples, when it comes to any kind of manufacturer release, they would order 20 sets of this, 25 sets of that, or whatever it is, and distribute it to their media partners. With these, they had very small amounts of, as in like very small amounts of. So only the largest YouTubers actually got them to test. Or relatively largest YouTubers got them to test. Right, we've had Darren's in the house. Hello Darren, hope you're well. Richard said, did anyone see where Grant Horvat handicapped Bryson with an old set of Hogan Apex FTX blades-ish FCBs? Bryson, once he got used to the lofts, beat Grant like a drum. Yeah, well, there's a difference. There's a massive difference between Grant and Bryson. No disrespect to Grant, he's a great player, he is. But you can't compare that to a tour player. Especially likes of Bryson, dear me. I mean, Bryson's not a journeyman tour pro. He is world-class tour pro, and I'm not surprised. Even with, as soon as he gets, if he understands what lie they are, if he understands what loft they are, he hits the middle. He doesn't have to worry about forgiveness. So there you go. Right guys, so unless anyone else has got anything else, Scott's saying it is going with a player distance club when your handicap would indicate using player improvement, punishing yourself. No, it's not. Coming back to the game after bad back surgery with slower swing speed. No, necessarily no, not whatsoever. So the whole idea of game improvement irons is one of a few different things. One, go to game improvement irons if you need all the help you can get when it comes to ball speed, because a game improvement iron will have a slightly faster face standout of player's distance, but it is very, very slightly. You're talking a relatively small amount of ball speed, as in small. A game improvement iron with a lower, further back centre of gravity, so will have a propensity to want to launch the golf ball slightly higher. So there is that. And with a slightly further back, lower and further back centre of gravity, you might get a slightly more kick to the shaft to enable you to get a fraction more launch as well. But then when it comes to a game improvement iron, the biggest difference on that over the player's distance is it's going to be more forgiving. As what I mean by that is when you hit away from the middle, you don't hit the middle every single time. So when you hit the toe, when you hit the heel, when you hit a high or a low, not so high because obviously that means you hit the ground first. But if you don't hit the middle, a game improvement iron will have a slight more help than a player's distance. It will just retain a little bit more ball speed than the player's distance and keep that golf ball going a little bit closer to its normal carry than that the player's distance would do from the same spot. That's the main differences. If you don't need the help when it comes to forgiveness because you hit the middle fairly well, then you don't need that. If you don't need any help launching the golf ball, then there's no point in getting the game improvement iron because you don't need that. And if it's just the speed because you've slowed swing down, the difference is so tiny anyway. Just play with what you like. Darren said, I received my Mizuno 245s last week. Only a 2.5 week wait, despite others experienced long delays. So they've sorted their European manufacturing demand. I absolutely love them, epic. They are a great set of golf clubs, absolutely they are. It's just a case of, unfortunately, the Mizuno Pro 2.4 series, considering the launch of them were not the greatest when it comes to, it was fairly soft launched, where if Mizuno have done this well when it comes to the launch of the Mizuno Pro 2.4 series with sales effectively, I would hate to imagine just how well they would have done if they had the same marketing ethos that the likes of TaylorMade and Callaway do. It's, yeah, just the way it is. But they are great, so absolutely. One of the, out of the Mizuno Pro range, 241, 243, 245, the 245 is by far the biggest upgrade over its old one, the 225. The 243, 223, I mean, it's nudging needles, it's not doing anything else like that. 241, 221, basically the same golf club. Just looks slightly differently from aesthetics and also design, but very, very, it's just it's a blade. And then when it comes to a 245, that tungsten increase, just, yeah, made a big difference. Scott says the lighter weight feels and hits as well or better in the virtual bay. Yes. Go with whatever works best for you. I mean, again, you have to do it a few times, test it a few times, make sure, obviously, yep, but basically just go with what you need. Don't go by what people say. Your handicap is this, you need this, your handicap is that, you need that. Handicap is an indication of how you do this and how you do that. It's not in any way just that's what you need. Richard says copper plating to soften the feel of impact, please. Right, so the copper plating, so the whole idea of copper plating or the copper underlay when it comes to a Mizuno is nothing feels like a Mizuno. So what happened was Mizuno before never used to have the HD forging process. They had the normal standard 1025E stamp, boom, there you go, done. But the problem is with that, that as time goes on, other manufacturers of blades start to do certain things that get very, very close to what Mizuno are doing, and to a point of where you could argue that back in the day where the original Apex MB from Callaway was made, that felt exactly like a Mizuno. It was just such a lovely golf club to hit, it just felt exactly like a Mizuno. So Mizuno had to change. Mizuno had to do different things to stay current, to stay one step ahead, and so they created their high definition forging process, where effectively it's less squidge out, it's more compact. The problem is by doing that, by getting tighter grain and all this that I like, grain flow forged, it does make the heads a little bit more tingy, harder, and that definitely is nothing feels like Mizuno. MP18 was the result of where you had from MP5 to MP18. There was a massive difference between the MP18 blade and the MP5, like huge. I did not like the MP18 range. I'll be honest, I just didn't feel like a Mizuno. MP20, they came up with the copper underlay. So the copper underlay was there theoretically to reduce the resonance of their head. Now, it doesn't have to be massively thick. It is just there as something to reduce resonance. And that is effectively sound, and that is just how even a small amount on something can make a big difference when it comes to the sound. Is it going to make the difference as in like making something like you can hit a ball of cotton wool? No, of course it's not. But the whole idea is just to change it enough so it gets you back into that realm of, we do something different, no one else does something like this, it's more consistent, it's more this, it's more that, and it also feels or sounds really, really nice, of which they've managed to do. So the copper is there to do that. Yes, the copper is also there as a handy thing because chrome will not stick to normal steel. They have to nickel plate and stuff first. But what they've done, they've got their standard 1025E, then they nickel plate it, then they copper, then they nickel, then they're chrome. That is had layers on there, and so that's why they have that. There you go. Darren says Bryson also beat Fat Perez playing left-handed. Incredible. Richard Bicker says interesting explanation of Mizuno field history. Thanks. You're welcome, no worries. And Scott says, thanks. You're also very, very welcome. Right guys, so unless you've got anything else you'd like me to answer, I've got through basically every single thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to the news and updates for going forward. I'm looking forward to Ping G435. I need to have a little chat with Ping. I also need to have a chat with Callaway if I can, about the update of what's coming with the Apex series, etc. Get them on test as well. And there you go. So unless you guys got anything else that you'd like me to answer when it comes to the normal Q&A, I will love you and leave you. Richard says, take care, Jay. Great show. No, you're welcome. Thank you very much for all the questions and all the input when it comes to the chat. I appreciate that as always. And then, yeah, I'm going to work hard at chipping and pitching because that's all I can basically risk doing with my shoulder at the moment. But as soon as my shoulder is back to how it needs to be, I've got things to test. One of this is obviously one of the most important things that I want to test, but obviously I need to get that shaft so I can, yeah. But obviously if I'm going to be doing driver with the amount of shots that I hit, my shoulder has got to be absolutely like rock solid before I do anything like this. So we will see, and fingers crossed everything will be back to normal as soon as absolutely possible. But as you can see, projector's back, looks lovely. Well, you probably don't notice any difference than it was before, but it does. It looks, yeah, I can read on the left hand side, it looks lovely in focus. On the right hand side, it looks lovely in focus as well. So I'm a happy bunny. anyone. Right, so later guys, all the best on getting the better shoulder. Thank you very much, Niels, appreciate that as always. Thank you, I do appreciate that one. And straight and long guys, Richard, and then everyone else is saying goodbye. Thanks, great chat and advice from Yorkie Bar, no problem whatsoever. Thank you guys, appreciate you as always, and we will see everyone in the next live stream. Remember, if you want to be a member, you want to be involved in the the weekly members only live streams where we go into a bit more in-depth knowledge and info about what's going on behind the scenes, etc. You can do by just popping onto my YouTube homepage. It says a little join button, click on there, have a little look through the list. I think it's lowest one is I think £3.99 a month, which is, I don't know how much a coffee is worth nowadays, but it's about a coffee cost anyway per, that's it. So right guys, thank you very much for watching as always, and I will see everybody soon.